Isn't it awkward that ever since I started this channel, it was all about Equestria goals, and then since this year began, it's starting to become less and less Equestria goals, mainly with the fanfic readings and other ideals. That's mainly because earlier this year, we've heard that Equestria goals came to an end, even without the release of a final short or special to wrap everything up. And let me just say that 2020, with the year being everything that was the total opposite of 2019, Equestria Goers was easily the spin-off that made my opinions changed over time, which includes Spring Breakdown, the movies, Forgotten Friendship, along with all the other stuff that's been released involving Equestria Goers. So, if you think that I'm going to be doing re-reviews of those, I'm not, because it's mostly a waste of time, especially making a video dedicated to a character from those specials will be mostly a waste of time. Literally the only things I have right now involving Equestria Girls is, aside from the fanfic readings and the ideas I can do involving Equestria Girls and fanfics, is Rainbow Rocks shorts, Friendship Games shorts, and Summertime shorts. And since we're in the summer, I'm going to be reviewing the Summertime shorts. And yes, I'm actually going to include the music videos, but similar to my top 4 music videos from the digital series of Seasons 1, I'm gonna be doing a ranking when it comes to each music video that's superior. So if you see a music video that comes out first, which is the video that came out after the previous music video, that means it's my least favorite. But I'm going to save that once we get to the end of this video. For now, I'm going to be talking about the 10 Summertime shorts. Makeup Shake-Up is one of the first specials of the Summertime shorts, and this, along with the following 2, take place during the movie. And with this taking place before they go to the fall formal, I have to say, this short honestly feels like a typical My Little Pony episode when it comes to Applejack not being into makeup while Rarity thinks otherwise. I know I say My Little Pony, but when I say My Little Pony, I was referring to ponies the most. And considering that this was at a time where Equestria Girls is mostly new at the time, even if this short was released during 2017, I have to say that the first shorts in this is mostly basic. Granted, this is mainly about Rarity just trying to have Applejack wear some makeup, but let's be real, considering that the other characters, Twilight, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie think otherwise, Applejack decided to do the unthinkable, mainly the fact that she doesn't want to do the unthinkable. And would you know it, she absolutely hates it. Usually I would easily see of how much that this is mostly predictable, but considering that we don't, this was at a time where the main characters met Princess Twilight for the very first time, and this was at the time while Sunset Shimmer was the villain. I have to say that this is actually much more suitable for these characters to go through, because if I do a short that involves a character's development before a movie like Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games, I would have done something like that, and I've already did that when it comes to fanfics. And considering that Applejack prefers her own design than what Rarity wants her to wear, I'm pretty sure that for what Rollercoaster of Friendship did, I can easily tell onto why the shipping feel between the two kind of works there, even if I didn't like the special that much. A photo booth story actually makes me convinced that this was supposed to be an original short for the first Equestria Girls movie, but during 2013, well, Twilight got her wings, and over the majority of that year, not a lot of episodes from Friendship is Magic is released, and mainly it only got releases from the beginning of the year when it comes to the end of the 3rd season, and the end of the year when it comes to the beginning of the 4th season. I'm saying this because this really feels like you'll travel back in time and watch Equestria Girls in 2013 when it comes to these shorts, even with the different animation styles. with this story, it's mainly about photo finish. Finish just wants to get a perfect photo because, of course, she's a photographer, and considering that this is the first time I ever talked about her, I gotta say that she is instantly probably the background characters that people enjoy the most. Mainly when it comes to other background characters from other episodes from Friendship is Magic. And let me just say right now, considering of how much that photo finish just desperately wants to make the perfect image so that she can be approved on being a great photographer on Canterlot High, the main six obviously had the time of their lives by taking photos because we get to see that they're wearing different outfits, with Twilight wearing Sherlock Holmes' outfit along with Pinkie Pie. And, of course, we get a reference from the season 1 episode where Rarity has her butterfly wings. So I guess that's kind of a good detail to have this taking ideas from previous... To have this episode take place at a time where they can take inspiration from the earlier episodes, which is something that this show... that the spin-off did as... when it comes to the digital series, but at the same time, I think that they were mostly out of place and mostly phoned in. And let me just say, the fact that there's a bit references with so many of these moments from the original show, I gotta say, I'm assuming that the reason why I didn't like the digital series is because it was at a time where I was waiting for my fan service to come true, and I didn't focus on the other details. Granted, as of now, I'm mostly disappointed that Equestria Girls didn't get a proper ending, but I will say that with shorts like these don't contribute a lot involving the Equestria Girls, well, aside from a few music videos, which I'm going to get to later, I have to admit that this is actually a really good way to showcase some of the ideas of what Friendship is Magic did when it comes to the earlier seasons. Ways this roof instantly feels like a traditional digital series short if this actually happened in the first or second season, but I'm pretty sure with a random party going on when it comes to the timeline of the first 2 seasons of the digital shorts, I'm pretty sure that this being taking place during the fall formal is mostly appropriate. Now, this is mainly an Applejack versus Rainbow Dash short, which is nothing special considering I've seen this multiple times before. But considering that this isn't mainly about Applejack versus Rainbow Dash, we get to see that Apple Bloom and Scooter are dancing, and they actually won the contest of the dance-off, which though isn't really a dance-off competition, but considering that Pinkie Pie found a trophy in a supply closet or somewhere else, I gotta say that this short honestly feels like it's there just so that we can actually see other characters take the spotlight, which is something that this show that this spinoff would do when it comes to the digital series. This was the very first summertime short I've seen out of the 10 summertime shorts in this, and I have to say, even if this isn't my favorite out of the bunch, I can still admit that this is actually the most entertaining and most unique. It is honestly surprising to think that the ideas that you use involving taking shorts that take place during the movie and not from somewhere after this movie is probably the better choice, because if I actually see ideals involving this becoming a short of its own in the digital series, it will probably raise a lot more questions. Mainly the fact that it could lead to timeline issues, which I'm sure it's not going to be a problematic issue with spin-offs, but the thing is, the reason why I stated that is mainly of how the other characters will react to if they mention something that they've already did it twice when it comes to doing the first time in the past. And as for mostly the other characters like Scooter and Apple Bloom in this, I'm pretty sure that with them being in a different short that is similar to this, would probably be mostly redundant. And I think that if you replace one of the characters with Sweet Belle, might be able to make a small difference, but it won't do much of justice to make the digital series short its own thing. But I will say this, though, that this short, despite not being one of my most favorites from the summertime shorts, I can say that it's still good for what it is. For the amount of times that Equestria Girls take inspiration from one of the episodes from Friendship is Magic, Steps of Pep instantly reminds me of the season 4 episode of, Fluttershy joins Rarity's singing group. At the same time, she isn't much of a singer, but in this, she isn't much of a cheerleader. Granted, I don't remember the episode's names, but at the same time, I'm not a 100% expert on Equestria Girls, or Friendship is Magic, so don't expect me to remember a lot, since it's been a while since I watched one of the episodes from the show. But then again, I've reviewed every single episode. This episode mainly about Fluttershy joining the cheerleading team. It really reminds me of how she would feel when it comes to Rarity's singing group in the fourth season episode. Except the difference here is that she is a cheerleader and not in a singing group. And I have to admit that the fact that she is just trying everything to make sure that she wants to be like a cheerleader, like Pinkie Pie along with the other cheerleaders, which we all know cheerleaders, so it's just Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy. It reminds me of the scene where she is trying to have a quiet cheer while the other characters do quiet cheers like her in the beginning of that episode, which was probably the Breezy episode. And I have to say that this episode, with this mostly about Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy together and the fact that they're voiced by the same actor, this is honestly a much more accomplishment when it comes to the actor doing different voices for two characters for a short at most. Because the fact that Fluttershy just can't be able to cooperate as being a cheerleader while Pinkie Pie is the total opposite really makes sense onto how the voice actor makes these characters way more believable than anything. I would consider that this is mostly about Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy getting along, but at the same time, the relationship even in Equestria Girls involving these two, I'm pretty sure that the chemistry is mostly at a medium level. Because let me just say this right now, that with some episodes involving Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, I can easily tell that even in Equestria Girls, there is no difference whatsoever. And every time I completely see these characters co-op with each other while trying to be good cheerleaders with the team of the school that they're in, it's really nothing special, because someone will probably be like Fluttershy while the other will probably be like Pinkie Pie in this scenario. So I have to admit that this short honestly feels a lot more realistic when it comes to these two characters cooperating with each other. With this being the first short we get to see Sunset Shimmer in, I gotta say that Sunset Shimmer's life was a lot more different the more we know about her in the spin-off, since that she spent most of her time in the meal world. And considering that we've learned that she made her decision to go back to Equestria, there are so many missed opportunities that I'm going to assume that doing one more season of the digital series just isn't enough. Pet Project is mainly Fluttershy getting all the animals cleaned up so that they can do a full photo shoot so that they can make money for charity for the animals, which is something that Fluttershy usually does when it comes to taking care of animals. And considering that Sunset Shimmer is the only character that doesn't have a pet, and the fact that this takes place between either Friendship Games or Legend of Everfree, or Legend of Everfree and the shorts, or after, or the 22-minute specials, or after that, I gotta admit that the timeline is really confusing. But at the same time, this was animated at a different studio, mainly the fact that we were seeing Sunset Shimmer wearing her old outfit and not her Friendship Games outfit. But getting back to this is mainly the same short, well, this is mainly the same idea, well, Rainbow Dash wants to get a pet of her own in the Season 2 episode. And this is the same thing, except that it's Sunset Shimmer instead of Rainbow Dash finding a pet. And considering that Fluttershy is into the idea that Sunset Shimmer wants to get a pet, she takes her to the pet store on which animal to adopt. I have to say that as much as people mostly found Sunset Shimmer mostly relatable, her getting a pet honestly feels a lot more relatable when you completely think that she's mostly by herself in her building. Granted, she has friends to keep her company, but at the same time, considering that every single one of her friends have pets of her own and the fact that she doesn't, I'm going to assume that if she did stay in Equestria, she will probably find a pet of her own because she will probably spend most of her time by herself. Even if she had a roommate, it won't make much of a difference because she probably wants to find a pet that she can easily relate to, just like her friends relate to their pets. And the pet that she wants the most is a gecko, who she names Way. And to be quite honest, with her picking Way in the photo booth just so that she can have her pet be in this, I'm pretty sure that any other person can pick a different pet. I'm just saying, when it comes to the other pets, despite my mixed opinions on them, even if I don't talk about them that much, Way as Sunset's pet honestly feels mostly about her way of choosing when it comes to what she enjoys in some kind of animals. So I'm pretty sure that if you take Sunset Shimmer's place on which animal she wants to pick the most, you will probably be on her side in picking the animal of your choosing at a pet store. I'm just saying this because for someone who had pets once in the family, but at the same time not really into pets, Sunset Shimmer obviously had a different way to picking a different pet when it comes to her friends. Which is why I think that this is considered the best short when it comes to people's perspectives on the summertime shorts. Subs rock. I'm gonna say right now, the fact that Principal Celestia along with Vice Principal Luna and maybe the other characters, mainly Dean Cadence in Equestria Girls, honestly feels a lot more different compared to what they were in Equestria in Friendship is Magic when it comes to being the princess, while the others were principals in the school. I gotta say that the fact that Celestia gets her own short on taking over a class honestly feels a lot more odd when you think about it, because if this actually happened in real life, I'm pretty sure that a principal will probably be mostly bored out of his mind by doing the same work, which is mostly you can relate to Celestia in this, but at the same time, this short tries way too hard to make Celestia mostly miserable at the fact that she didn't get the chance to become a teacher or being a substitutes teacher in a class that involves so many people, because it was much more hilarious to think that Celestia would do most of the work around here, but the thing is, they're custodians, and I became a custodian in 2018, so if you actually think that she does nearly all the work, and we are supposed to assume that there are less teachers in Canterlot High, then no, I don't really believe that, because this is the only class that Celestia is taking over. So if you really think that she is doing all this work just so that she can keep Canterlot High 100% strategize or completely undamaged when it comes to any situations, it just makes everything about this really uncomfortable. This is the definition of hammering in comedy in Equestria Girls, but at the same time, mostly pushing characters aside when it comes to important things. And I've addressed that so many times in my reviews of the digital series specials. I'm really convinced that if we actually get a Equestria Girls special involving Celestia herself and the fact that she's going to be mistreated for the majority of it, it will probably be a very difficult special to take it seriously. Regardless of what you feel about the possibility of a Celestia special that never came to be, you need to understand that the other specials, despite the qualities, do have major setbacks. And I have to admit that this is really depressing to think that Celestia is being treated this way, considering that she is a principal in Cantonal High, and the fact that she's being a substitute teacher, which is other people who would usually take the job when it comes to their spare time, when it comes to their school days, will probably take the job a lot more differently. In fact, I won't have an issue with the shorts if Celestia was replaced by someone else by doing the substitute's work instead of just doing most of the principal work, because Celestia being a principal really sums up everything of what Celestia is doing in the meal world. And every time I think about this short, it honestly feels like it's desperately just trying to push down Celestia, and it honestly feels like they swapped the wrong character in this short. Like, if you swap Celestia with a different character like Luna, which, even if she's a vice principal, she doesn't do most of the work when it comes to Celestia, then maybe I can easily take this short a little bit more seriously to see that that Luna is really upset that there's so many bad things happening. Besides, I can easily tell that Celestia deserves a lot more better, even if this is just a short in general. So, out of all the shorts in the summertime shorts, this is the least of my favorites. The Art of Friendship to me honestly feels mostly a digital series short more than a summertime short. I'm just saying, the fact that this is called the summertime shorts and the fact that most of these shorts are taking place in Canterlot High, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this could either take place in summer school for all I know, but considering that these shorts honestly feels less summertime related, and the fact that Hasbro wants to do something with Equestria goers at the time, well, after the 322 specials have came out and before the My Little Pony movie comes out, I can say that this is mostly filler for the sake of having a Sunset Shimmer and Pinkie Pie short. But I have to admit that this is a lot more better than the dynamic in Sunset's Backstage Pass. Pinkie Pie is having a difficult time on thinking how to paint something for herself, and she took advice from Sunset Shimmer on doing it her way. And let me just say right now, the fact that Sunset Shimmer stated that, it honestly makes Pinkie Pie think different ways in order to make her drawing come to life. Not really come to life, but mainly her imagination come to life. This is Pinkie Pie we're talking about, and considering that she doesn't know what to do when it comes to art, I'm going to assume that if she was in any other class involving the schedule she's in, she will probably think the same way. Granted, she's a great chef, but at the same time, if you put her in music class, which she does have some talent, which we've seen in Rainbow Rocks, but if that show took place before that movie, then I'm going to assume that the direction that Pinkie will go to will probably be a lot more different and a lot more awkward to think about. But anyway, I gotta say that with this being mostly a Pinkie Pie short than anything else, with Pinkie Pie just trying to take some ideals by wearing a bird suit and completely trying to communicate with the other birds, is honestly the Pinkie Pie that we all remember in the past, mainly when it comes to her humor. But as the short continues, well, she is mostly a drummer while trying to think of something. It just doesn't usually work out, especially that Sunset Shimmer is really annoyed by her drumming lessons, especially in a class where it doesn't have anything to do with instruments. And I gotta say, they really want Sunset Shimmer to be good when it comes to average. And when I mean average, not on the levels when it comes to Way Skywalker levels, if you know what I mean. They have her draw a painting of 3 flowers, which is mostly impossible to do. And then we get to see Pinkie Pie doing this. Yeah. Not really the best, but considering that Pinkie Pie isn't really the best at drawing, this entire short honestly feels mostly a Pinkie Pie short more than a Pinkie Pie and Sunset Shimmer short every time I watch this. I'm just saying, it just really feels weird to actually consider this mostly a summertime short while most of the shorts are taking place in Canterlot. But then again, Hasbro need to do something with Equestria Girls after the releases of the 3 22-minute episodes. Speaking of Pinkie Pie, the following summertime short is the Canterlot Movie Club, where it's mainly about Pinkie Pie losing Gummy, who is her pet, and the Cutie are on a search hunt to rescue Gummy. This short honestly feels like mostly a Cutie short, but at the same time, with this mostly about Pinkie Pie really upset that her pet is mostly gone, and the fact that the Cutie are willing to find it for her, it really feels like Pinkie Pie just doesn't usually do everything right when it comes to her somewhat social skills when it comes to other characters, but we've always seen what she's mostly capable of when it comes to her interactions with other characters. And I gotta say, with a short mainly catering to the Cutie and this is after Movie Magic, Meal Magic, which was at the time, well, every single character are about to watch the Daring Do movie, I have to say that this actually feels way more accurate to think that the Cutie are mostly capable when they aren't in a situation where they need to get the Cutie Marks, because the Cutie Marks in the Meal World, despite being somewhat existent when it comes with the main characters, aren't really a huge alternative or an achievement for them to do. And I have to admit that the amount of times I see them trying to get some kind of attention when it comes to their efforts, it honestly feels a lot more odd that they want to get some kind of attention by doing different things on the internet, but at the same time, it's mostly just them just trying to do different things, trying to get some attention. Sometimes it just instantly reminds me of We Bare Bears, but the spin-off came out before We Bare Bears, so I can't really make that comparison. All in all, with them playing a crane game where they actually see Gummy in the crane game, in the claw crane game machine, and they managed to get him out of it, it really feels like this entire short is mostly about what the Cutie can do in Equestria Girls. Before this, we didn't get a lot of screen time aside with the other summertime shorts, mainly Raise This Roof. And I have to say that if we did actually have an episode catered to the Cutie, it would probably feel a lot more off. I mean, Celestia, it's mostly understandable because she's the principal, and it would be a miracle to have her see her interact with her princess counterparts, but everything else in this, it really feels like it's mostly about just trying to give us something to watch when it comes to the Cutie doing something in the Meal World. I will say that this short isn't as boring or nearly as bad as Subwalks, but at the same time, I consider this the second least of my favorites in the summertime shorts. I'm just gonna say right now, after the summertime shorts and before the digital series, I gotta say that the characters from the spinoff were mostly at the prime of sanity. And what I mean by that is the fact that they don't make so many mistakes of what they did in the digital series, and they weren't this mostly blindness when it comes to cruelty towards other characters. If I'm ever going to address those issues, it will probably be in a different video that I'm not going to make, but I'm just going to say right now that leaping off the page really sums up everything that what Rainbow Dash wasn't when she was portrayed in Spring Breakdown, despite most of the stuff happening as the special continues. This is just mostly her reading a Daring Do book, and she insulted herself in the world of Daring Do. This is Rainbow Dash, who is obsessed with Daring Do. So every time I completely watch this short and just see Rainbow Dash being inside of a Daring Do book, it's basically what we feel if we read a book itself. And granted, I don't imaginate myself whenever I read books during my time in middle school or in high school. I gotta say that Rainbow Dash's shorts in this honestly makes her a lot more better compared to how she was portrayed in Spring Breakdown. Because for one, she is mostly confident at the same time, mostly not annoying when it comes to how she's portrayed as the series continues. Because even if this is mostly fantasy, well, technically fantasy in fantasy of in the book when it comes to the show in general, she is mostly confident in the fact that she actually enjoys being mostly a daring do character and going through so many obstacles because she isn't what she was in Spring Breakdown. It really makes me to believe that Hasbro didn't know what to do when it comes to the human counterpart characters. Let me just say right now that every time I watch Rainbow Rock's Friendship Games or the Summertime Shorts, when it comes to these characters on screen, it made me convinced that what they had, despite with some of the writers and directors leaving before the digital series came out, they just didn't know what to do with the characters and had to put them into wacky shenanigans in order to make the plots work, which is my major gripe with the new digital series of Equestria Girls specials. Because as much as it's mostly tolerable to make Equestria Girls its own thing, it doesn't make it okay for these characters to be mostly over exaggerating and also mostly annoying when it comes to how they're developed. Because even if this is a kid's show, this is still a spin-off towards a show that got a huge following once it was released at the beginning of the 2010s decade. And every time I think about this short, it really feels like they could have done a lot more when it comes to the other characters' developments in other specials. Because let me just say right now, Rainbow Dash, Twilight Sparkle, with this being mostly a dynamic that is the main focus of Spring Breakdown, would have been a lot more better because I've always mentioned that during Equestria Girls Month last year. So every time I think about moments like these, it just raises more and more questions, especially that this is 4 years old. The Summertime Shorts are 4 years old, and considering that what we got in the digital series is not what I expected, it really feels like they just didn't know what to do with anything when it comes to the digital series, other than continuing the plot of what Legend of Everfree left off, actually. So, let me just say right now that every time I watch the old Equestria Girls shorts during this present time, my opinions have increasingly changed. And I'm pretty sure that if this show did continue in some other way when it comes to having a different animation studio animating it, I'm pretty sure that they probably would have been a lot more. I'm pretty sure they probably would take some inspiration for their failed attempts or mistakes of what they did in the other episodes and specials if they did take inspiration from those. But let's be real, this is Hasbro we're talking about, who is mostly concerned on the spin-off's popularity in toy sales. And even if Friendship is Magic is mostly similar to that, it is still the main attraction, just like Generation 5. And if Equestria Girls is still going on to this day, I'm pretty sure that we're probably going to be in the same situation as before. And I have to admit, me talking about this more than 5 minutes involving a show that is mostly 3 minutes long or shorter than that, that is really saying something. It's just really saying something that I really miss Equestria Girls, with no continuation after the Christmas episodes came out. Getting into the final short of the Summertime Shorts before we head into the music videos is Epic Fails, which the title speaks for itself. It's mostly a compilation of the main characters doing terrible fails. Yeah, that's basically it. And let me just say right now, for someone who enjoys Fail Harmony, for watching the videos mostly daily when it comes to so many people doing epic fails or just fails in general, I gotta say that this short in general is basically what it is. It's mostly something that you would usually see in real life when it comes to people not doing the right directions of what they're doing. And I gotta say, it just really feels a lot more different compared to seeing these characters learning from the mistakes after doing these epic fails. But I guess it really sums up onto why they're not 100% cooperative when it comes to friendships, mainly of how they act towards each other in later specials. If there's one thing I can easily enjoy when it comes to most of the shorts, most of the compilation in this, it's mostly of how the main characters just easily aren't aware of what the powers are doing. I mean, with this taking place after Friendship Games and maybe Legend of Everfree, we get a compilation of Flashlight using her powers way too hard when it comes to having the birds moving their hair in different directions, along with other characters trying to do chemical studies when it comes to their classes and are backfiring, which even if Skytry isn't really a chemical powers person, more of a magical person, in the fact that she is into science, I still think that this is mostly considered on her character development, on what she needs to get accustomed to when it comes to her life changing since she got transferred. And getting to this is mostly about Rarity having food in her teeth, which she needs floss to get it out. And let me just say right now, the reactions, the facial expressions from Sunset Shimmer, they desperately try way too hard to make them over-exaggerating. But then again, this short isn't supposed to be taken seriously, and it's mostly the filler out of all the fillers in any of the shorts. But that doesn't mean it's really a big issue, because at least it does make sense onto the title of this, since you can actually tell what the short is going to be about. But at least, when it comes to the other shorts, they don't even do much of justice to give the characters some kind of break. Granted, this isn't a great way to when it comes to ending off the summertime shorts when it comes to normal shorts in general, but I will say it's really not a bad way to wrap up everything when it comes to shorts. But considering that this video is going to be discussing about the musical shorts, let's get into the 6 musical shorts where I rank them to least to best. My least favorite music video out of the 6 music videos in the summertime shorts is Shake Things Up, which is an Applejack music video. I'm not saying that this music video is boring or anything. I mean, the lyrics make sense in the fact that it's somewhat entertaining to see Applejack doing something involving difference when it comes to her farming life, but every time I immediately think Applejack doing something like this when it comes to the Mirror World, it really feels like it's mostly a way to have Applejack do something completely different in the first Digital Series song. Mainly of her 5 to 9 or 9 to 5 shorts where she sings involving her farming life. Not to mention the party she threw once her friends arrived at her garage. This music video really feels like it's mostly about Applejack growing accustomed to the real world, which involves technology and stuff, but considering my opinions on the Mirror World are mostly different compared to Equestria goes, I'm going to assume that Applejack being in this honestly feels a little bit more out of place. I mean, yes, she plays guitar when in Rainbow Rocks, and she is one of the guitar players in the Rainboom's band. But every time I think of that, it's mostly about her way of hanging out with her friends in the Mirror World. It just really feels like it's mostly appropriate for a character to do in those because she was with someone. And even though that this does make sense because she is mostly with someone when it comes to customers, it still just feels a lot more awkward to think that she is doing this just so that she can actually contribute something when it comes to having a job outside of her farming life. I'm just saying this right now that I've seen characters go through some arcs when it comes to farming life, and whether they take farming life when it comes to their jobs, it feels like they are mostly accustomed to them, and I can easily tell when it comes to the development towards other characters when it comes to the farming markets. Not farming markets, mostly the outdoors in countries. And I'm saying this because I've seen so many situations that Applejack gets into when it comes to her life in Friendship is Magic, and every time I see those, even if it's taking place in Equestria, it still is mostly suitable because that's just mostly what Applejack mostly belongs to. And we can easily tell that in the Magical Cure episode, well, she is taking a different job because of her Q mark is different compared to the others. It just doesn't usually suit for her. Yes, I will admit that that's not the same Applejack we all remember, and this Applejack is from the Meal World, but even if the lyrics do make sense and I can easily enjoy the entertainment from the lyrics, it still doesn't really fit for Applejack completely being someone who will walk in the mall instead of just doing her farm work, which something that the 5 to 9 or 9 to 5 music video probably covers everything up, but at the same time, every time I think about this music video, it's mostly out of place, and I'm pretty sure it's only there just so that Applejack can get a music video involving the Summertime Shorts. Ranking at number 5 is Quinky Dink World, which it's mostly about Pinkie Pie just trying to make the restaurant a really great place to stay at, and I've mentioned that when it comes to my reviews of the first digital series and second season. Well, it's mostly about Pinkie Pie just trying to get people together, and considering that this takes place before those shorts came out, I have to say that as much as I actually enjoy the lyrics of this, it's still mostly a typical Pinkie Pie short. Mainly for what you usually expect from Pinkie Pie's personality, not to mention the singing in this. And this is mostly about everyone getting together in the restaurant that Pinkie Pie is working in. Granted, it's really catchy, but at the same time, I can say for a fact that other music videos involving Pinkie Pie may be much more better than this. I'm just saying that with this being mostly standard and not mostly about Pinkie Pie dealing with any character development, I gotta say that this is mostly about just trying to see what Pinkie Pie does when it comes to her life outside of her life with other characters. I mean, in Applejack's job, it doesn't usually suit for me because it's mostly different when it comes to her life in the Meal World, but Pinkie Pie I can totally understand. Besides, if Pinkie Pie did have the same job by working with Mrs. and Mr. Cake at the bakery, it will probably make this song mostly unoriginal if we actually see Mr. Cake and Mrs. Cake dancing with Pinkie Pie. But considering that they're working at a cafe and Pinkie Pie doesn't work at the cafe, it's actually a good thing that she's actually walking here instead of just mostly walking with Mr. and Mrs. Cake. I can easily give this is one of the examples I can give shorts like these some props to do something interestingly different when it comes to these characters being into a world involving electronics and not magic. And I'm saying this because even if magic does exist in the Meal World, not in a normal life before Princess Twilight and Sunset Shimmer head back to the Meal World. Well, mainly Sunset Shimmer, not Princess Twilight. She and Spike enter the Meal World for the first time in the Equestria Girls movie. All in all, with this being low on the list, I still found this a lot more entertaining compared to the last music video. So I can easily tell that if you, regardless of what you really enjoy from Pinkie Pie, you will find some kind of enjoyment from this once you see this music video for the first time. Get the show on the road honestly makes me feel that these characters being in the Wayne Booms band and the fact that they actually go on tour on where they go, they desperately want Equestria Girls to be its own thing no matter what by doing shorts like these. I remember watching links of Equestria Girls in 2017, and with this mostly about the characters just trying to get along while also decorating the entire bus, while also singing a song, I honestly thought that this was mostly a scene from one of the Equestria Girls specials from 2017. Granted, it honestly feels a lot more awkward whenever you completely look at these shorts years after they were linked and then finally being released as part of something else instead of the 322-minute specials. All in all, I'm pretty sure that this music video, for what it is, I can say that as much as it's better than the last two, it's mostly a typical Wayne Boom song. Now, I'm saying this because as much as there are other songs that are much more better than this really feels like it's mostly there just so that they can actually do some touring by also doing different styles. If you really think about what I'm trying to address, is that Dance Magic, despite mostly being something that is supposed to advertise the song that wasn't used in friendship games, and ends up using it in that special alone, they still have the characters wear different outfits, and we completely see these characters wearing the exact same outfits from before, mainly Rainbow Dash. I'm just saying, the fact that you have the characters wear the same outfits, and the fact that you're completely having them sing the song of having them going on tour, it makes me convinced that they just have so much free time to the point that it just raises a lot more questions onto why they're not really convinced that most of the locations that they're going to are getting corrupted. Yes, I understand that they're not intelligent to be mostly concerned of what's going on at times, but at the same time, every time I instantly think about Equestria Girls, specifically after Rainbow Rocks or Princess Twilight leaves for the final time, full time, it's just hard to actually overlook the positives in these. But I will say that the music video itself is probably something that I would consider enjoying when it comes to my spare time, even if I don't usually listen to a lot of Equestria Girls or My Little Pony songs for the majority, since I mostly got burned out from it the last year. If there's one thing I can easily give this some kind of credit, is the fact that they actually used the bus that they decorated and put the bus into some kind of attention format, as they going to do a concert at a party, which I did review last year in Equestria Girls Month, so it really does make sense that you can have a returning element from shorts like these and put them into the digital series. But at the same time, it really feels odd to consider that Rarity ends up getting an RV, which ends up replacing the bus that they just decorated. I don't know if that's either a good thing, considering that RVs are always superior than buses, but the bus honestly deserves a lot more respect every time I actually see that bus on screen. Regardless if Rarity got the RV on her birthday, it still doesn't make any sense into why they would easily scrap the whole Wayne Boom's bus when they can easily use the RV for other things. Granted, I'm mostly incorrect, because if the series did continue, they might do different things, since that they only use the RV for journey purposes, but with tour purposes, there was literally no difference whatsoever. But I will say that Get the Show on the Road, despite not being one of my favorites, I can still consider it as the most entertaining. And considering we're getting to the top 3, they're mostly my favorite, but at the same time, I still have somewhat questionable issues with them. Ranking at number 3 in bronze place is Good Vibes, and I know some of you guys consider this as the best short, not to mention the final short as part of the summertime shorts, but I gotta be honest, the lyrics do work, and I can understand that it's mostly a world where it's about how different it is compared to Equestria Girls, and considering that the lyrics mention the small world is mainly about taking place at a location that is smaller compared to Equestria, which is twice as bigger, it still doesn't make me convinced that this is a good music video. Let me just put this in perspective that The Flash hate by this point is really starting to become overweighted overweighted even after 8 long years. I mean, Flash got a music video, sure he managed to get some kind of a cult following after this short when it comes to him moving on with Princess Twilight, but every time I mention that, people instantly let out the fact that Princess Twilight still has feelings towards Flash Sentry, and they don't even seem to easily mention that whatsoever. You can say that Princess Twilight doesn't need to be in the real world anymore, considering that there's a different Twilight now, but let me make one thing perfectly clear. When this short tries to make everyone mostly depressed, and this leads to the characters coming to Flash who start up the good vibes situation, it's good, but at the same time, it just makes me convinced that this is mostly an apology towards Flash fans than mostly what he's dealing with when it comes to his somewhat relationship with Princess Twilight. Look, the romance thing, cliche thing, I can understand that people really can't stand it. I can easily tell that the lyrics of this is supposed to represent what Flash, along with the other characters, are feeling when it comes to moving on. But the fact that you just instantly just scrap the ideal and the fact that this is similar to later franchises that took ideals by not continuing on with relationships afterwards because of bad development direction, and the fact that people are mostly upset of how those characters instantly got worse when it comes to the predecessor, it really says something. And even if you can say that this isn't really existent when it comes to Flash Sentry and the Equestria Girls, it still does for me, because it just really makes this music video mostly just hammering in on get used to Flash Sentry not being with Princess Twilight because we got nothing because of the backlash. Yeah, that's just basically what this music video is basically telling me, and the fact that we're supposed to accept this no matter what. As much as I really think that people have different opinions of Flash Sentry, I still can't get over the fact that he is probably the only exclusive character when it comes to Equestria Girls, and he barely has much screen time wherever he appears in Friendship is Magic. The music video is good, but at the same time, it just shows that you desperately wants you to accept what the direction of the spinoff is going to, and even the fact that you're supposed to accept that Princess Twilight got over Flash Sentry off screen. It's annoying. Way more annoying as the years continues when we don't get any continuation from this. And as much as I can easily tell that Good Vibes is supposed to be a way to show that Hasbro does care about Flash Sentry in some other way, but the fact that they have no other option to make him mostly redeemable, and the fact that they had to make him being somewhat of a focus in this music video and have him have his own music video in the second season, it's difficult for me to actually take Flash Sentry's character a lot more seriously even after this, because it just still raises more questions. By this point, the backlash thing, regardless with it being mostly unavoidable, it doesn't even really make Equestria Girls any more better if people are mostly acceptance towards Equestria Girls' taking backlash seriously. Because by this point, this being 4 years old and the fact that we're not going to get a continuation of Equestria Girls because of the original studio moving on, and the fact that we're getting Generation 5, the 2010s was also a really difficult decade for me to actually accept change when it comes to doing them in a way where it's not really accurate, but at the same time, they could have done a different direction to make the backlash slip away by making the development of the characters much more better. Because let me just say this right now, that the Flash and Princess Twilight romance thing, I still see that as somewhat of an issue when it comes to the other characters as the series continues, even without the whole romance thing. Just keep this in mind. As much as I really enjoy the lyrics and the music from this video, it still doesn't change the fact that what the music video represents is supposed to be forcing you to accept it. Granted, it's not forcing you, but every time I see the music video, it just feels like it's forcing you to accept it. Which is why I consider this my third favorite music video when it comes to the summer type shorts. And if I'm ever going to do a ranking on which Equestria Girls song is superior, this would definitely be towards the middle of that category. But I will say that the next two music videos are instantly one of my favorites. The second being Mad Twientist. Probably a good pun considering that we got the name of Sky Twi when we got the introduction of Human Twilight in friendship games. And with this being the first ever Sky Twi solo song when it comes to its own music video, I gotta say it's really entertaining to actually see Twilight in this situation because, let me just be really real right now. If she actually stayed with the Crystal Prep students and we get to see more Princess Twilight in this, we will probably won't be able to have this music video, which is probably a good thing to have Sky Twilight transfer to Canterlot High. Granted, it will probably lead to so many issues I'm gonna be having, but I'm gonna be really real with you. I really don't want to get into that topic that much, considering of how old it is, and it's been like 5 years. Granted, I'm not getting used to it, and the fact that my fanfics mostly cover it when I first write them years ago, but years later, without getting that opportunity involving the TV, on the TV when it comes to cartoon format, it's still difficult to get used to it. If there's one thing I actually enjoy from this music video is the fact that we get to see what Twilight usually does when it comes to her life without her friends. Because let's just be real, with this being mostly a parody towards Frankenstein, which I don't watch Frankenstein, but I understand the character, and considering that Twilight wants to make a robotic dog, which isn't a Frankenstein, I gotta say that she only made this just so that Spike can actually be with someone. But in the second season of the digital series, Spike ends up going with someone else. Granted, this is mostly for a music video, but every time I instantly think of Spike in this was probably at a time where Spike wasn't really used that much, and actually see him being with someone, there are so many opportunities, but at the end of the day, we probably forgot the ending of Mad Twientist, haven't we? We only admire the music and nothing else, so I gotta be real with you, this is mostly Twilight herself than Spike. So I gotta have to admit that this is probably the only thing we're going to expect from Spike, especially in the later seasons. The lyrics in this, with this being mostly about techno and the fact that Twilight is mostly different compared to what she was before Legend of Everfree, I have to admit that they did so many changes, because if we actually had a gag of Midnight Sparkle returning even after Legend of Everfree, Twilight's character will probably be a lot more difficult to take it seriously. So I'm going to assume that even with so many changes going on, I'm going to assume that if we had those changes, this music video will probably be in a predicament where it could happen, but also could not. But at the same time, I still enjoy it for what it has to offer. And there's one music video that is better than all the other music videos when it comes to the summertime shorts. And that music video is Monday Blues. Yep, a music short that centers around Sky Twilight and Sunset Shimmer, which is a shipping I don't enjoy that much, is way better than the other 5 music videos I've mentioned. If there's one thing that can give this music video credit, is the fact that this isn't really about hanging out until the end, because considering that people desperately wanted a music video involving Skytwi and Sunset Shimmer together, we don't get that. Instead, we get a music video involving them hating to cancel out while it's raining, but they still sing the song regardless. It actually really proves of how much Hasbro is really good when it comes to doing different music ideas for whatever the characters are when it comes to their environments. And let me just say that the environments that they're in, well, it's mainly about Sunset and Skytwi hating to cancel out time while still singing the song during the whole situation. It really made me convinced that Hasbro is really capable to doing so many different things, even doing music videos. And all in all, it's probably why I think that this is the best music video out of the bunch when it comes to the summertime shorts. Granted, it's not one of my favorite songs when it comes to other songs from Equestria Girls, but I will admit that this is above when it comes to the middle of ranking. And even if it may be debatable if this song can be better when it comes to Rainbow Rocks and maybe Legend of Everfree, I can say for a fact that this is mostly better than most of the songs in Friendship Games and maybe the first Equestria Girls movie. Granted, me discussing about the songs in this still requires its own video, but at the same time, I've probably already addressed all the songs when I've mentioned them in the past, and to be quite honest, my opinions on the songs mainly from the first Equestria Girls movie to Legend of Everfree really didn't change that much. There could be some songs, but at the same time, not much. So I think that with this probably being ranking a little bit higher when it comes to being above average over the middle of ranking, that is somewhat of an accomplishment of what the digital series and the movies would have probably done a lot more better of. But I'm just saying, my opinions on the summertime shorts musics are mostly debate, and I wasn't originally going to plan on reviewing them since this video was mostly about the ordinary summertime shorts and nothing else. But with this taking place during Summerpalooza 3, and I wanted to do something involving the Equestria Girls, I guess this is literally the only option I have by doing a small ranking video of the summertime shorts. So all in all, I think I really enjoy making this big video despite being mostly claustrophobic when it comes to so many other videos in the meantime. And considering that this isn't one of the longest videos of this month, it really shows that I put way too much focus on Summerpalooza 3 being a lot more different compared to the old Summerpalooza. The first two Summerpaloozas, that is. But that just really that is really saying something. I really wanted to make Summerpalooza a lot more different as each year has passed since I introduced it in 2019. All in all, I still enjoy making this video, and the only elements I have involving the Equestria Girls left is Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games, but it will be at a much later time, whatever I'm interested in. Besides, talking about Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games shorts isn't really anything special when it comes to the digital series shorts, and maybe the summertime shorts, but then again, who knows what will happen in the future. I'm Lonely Fanboy 4 here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Let's get this started again.